names. And I made these notes with all the numbers on it so I could find it immediately. Mark Benito Padro, he made plastic recycled sunglasses, but his sunglasses already for market. It's a fully fashionable product already. Yassine Salahin, he's one of the tutors at the Royal Academy of Arts in The Hague. He also runs his own studio in product development. And Damien Ragoussi, was that okay, sort of? That's like Pakhuis, that's okay. I get away with it. And he made, so can I call it a do-it-yourself boombox? Do-it-yourself boombox? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, it's do-it-yourself boombox. At the end, at the panel discussion, I think there's a lot of room for you guys to interact as well. If you got a question, please raise your hand. I'll come up to you with the mic and ask you to ask the question in the mic. Why? Because you think we're all very understandable. It's going to be filmed. We can wave now to people at home or people later on watching it, because it will be streamed on the internet and it can be watched later on as well. So, and if you don't in the mic, people at home watching it on the computer, they cannot hear the question. So if you got a question, raise your hand. I'll come up with a mic and you can ask your question. And then at the end of the evening, like I said, there will be the announcement of the nominees and the winner of the Distributed Design Award. And it will be done by Alessandra Schmidt. I think now you have, and then it's 10 o'clock, and then we can have the beer at the bar and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I think you're all set now. You know what the program will be. And I would very much like to invite Kate to the stage. Can I have a please a warm welcome for Kate Armstrong of DDMP.
Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us this evening about this Distributed Design Market Platform program. So I'm the project manager of this Creative Europe project. And this is a very interesting project because it's basically looking... Thank you, Eva. I just realized. It's basically looking at the future of design and how we can build a culture around that future that is preferred to make our... that can give us a preferred future and the outcome that we're looking for in general as designers. So Distributed Design Market Platform is basically this really interesting space that's emerging between a digital layer of tools and the maker movement. So we identify that these two spaces and these two movements create something new that requires new ways of working, new ways of thinking, and new cultural aspects in the way that we think about what design is and what design is capable of doing. So it's kind of all inside this larger context, which is something that comes from Fab City Global Initiative. Maybe some of you have been involved with this over the last few days. And also is closely related to the Fab Lab network. And that is the idea that instead of moving atoms, so as we were saying, big ships moving to and froth, we should be moving the bits, so the information instead of the things. And in this way, we can create less demand on the global systems like resources and also like obviously the planet in itself. And we can provide more opportunities to designers and makers to rethink the way that we can have real products that are useful in this paradigm. So the project itself, as we said, it's a platform of people. And as a platform, we use values and we kind of adhere to values and produce events and also tools and resources that adhere to these values and practice these values. So it's about being supportive, it's about being ecosystemic, it's about being open and regenerative. And all of these ideas inside that paradigm of moving bits and not atoms creates this movement and this interest of people coming together to be distributed in design. So yeah, this is the official rundown. And as we said, we have makers and also members all over Europe. And these are, I think we said 12 different countries, but 15 really important members. And Pakhuis Zwijger, did I say that right? It's okay. Pakhuis Zwijger is one of them. So we collaborate through different kinds of events. We have also a platform online where you can go and see the ecosystem of tools that we're actually building on the other side to support this culture. And you can also attend many events in the form of, as we have here, summit, talk shows. We also have different programs we'll talk about tonight, like the awards and the summer school. And together we become the distributed design market platform. So we're very interested in connecting to anybody who is working in this field, like the 14 people we have here tonight, and you'll hear about them. And we're very interested about proliferating this conversation around what is distributed design and how can we work as designers to bring this into a narrative that is beneficial for today and also for our future. So thank you very much for being here, and thank you for the wonderful introduction so far, and look forward to this evening. So thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you, Kate. Bits, not atoms. I like that. I like that phrase. I think that really tells the story, and it's also about this new industrial revolution that is coming. The fourth, I think it is. It's all about the bits and the movement of the bits, and the atoms will stay in the place and will be produced locally. Well, we're going to see a lot of projects that will deal with that bits, but also with atoms, because we're still talking about a lot of products tonight. The first presentation will be Agustin Floralistic, that you have with this very international group of people. There are going to be a lot of names and there's going to be a lot of mistakes. I'm sorry, Agustin, I saw you nodding. Like I tried my best. Agustin Floralistic. He has a project called Plastic Smoothie, and like I said, it's all about recycling plastics and doing it locally. Agustin, can I invite you to the stage? And can I have please a warm welcome for Agustin?
Hello everyone, thank you very much for being here and for this opportunity. Today I'm going to talk about a small project called Plastic Smoothie. As you can imagine, this project is all about plastic. But first of all, I need to talk a little bit about myself. I'm a product designer and an educator specialized in digital fabrication. It was back in 2013 that I fell in love with 3D printing when it became accessible in Spain, and ever since I've shared at least one project every month. I love designing and I love sharing. What's the issue with this project? It generates some waste. For example, every project I make has at least 2 prototypes, and in the end, even if it's an optimal process, I need to try. I need to fail and to learn. But one day I got tired of not doing anything about this, and I decided I was going to start recycling it. Do you know this? It's precious plastic. Dave Huggins is making an amazing project with many people, and next week I will be working with them and with many amazing designers. But I had an issue. I live in a small apartment. I can't afford, and I don't have the knowledge to make all these machines. So was I going to stop, to give up? No, I said I'm going to find a new way to recycle plastic. There needs to be a first step, because this is too much for me. And that's how Plastic Smoothie started. It's easy. It has 3 main ideas, which makes it, I try to think it's unique. Hopefully it will not be unique. First of all, it's accessible. Most of or all the tools, designs, process must be accessible and affordable. I was born in Argentina. I understand that most people cannot afford an amazing extrusion machine. We need to start with kitchen tools. I got this second-hand oven, 15 euros, and I'm a blender on Amazon. That's why the project is called Plastic Smoothie. And I believe I could find a process with which I can recycle plastic in a creative way, because that's, to me, the most important thing. It's creative. I love 3D printing. I love laser cutting, and thanks to these new digital tools, Fab Labs, we get the chance to make things in a new way. This is my favorite, a spirograph. I grew up drawing with one, and one day I was like, I got some plastic panels. I got a laser cutting machine. I'm going to make one of these. I'm going to share the files so everyone can make it. And the most important one, business-wise, it's accessible, it's easy, it's creative, and it can be scaled, it can be adopted. Middle schools, small schools in Spain, Latin America, they don't have the money, resources, and knowledge. But thanks to using kitchen tools and being creative, we can implement them. We can teach, we can learn and improve as a society. For example, I gave a workshop to university students, and thanks to the little oven and the car I borrowed, I could give this workshop and teach 10 students how to make products with recycled plastic. But we are makers, we love the process. And how do we start? We got some plastic waste. In my case, it's PLA from 3D printing mainly, and I've got some plastic waste providers. I shred it. I got this bag in my suitcase. I just keep it. It's art for me. I use this mini oven paper, quite easy. You can do it this weekend if you want. I've also started making plastic tiles with silicone molds. Do you know Hima? You can get this mold in Spain, €4. I use the plastic, the heat gun. I love it. It saved my life so many times. But now it's important for me to show you some of the products. I love the process, but these are some of the results. I did some rotomolding. These are two examples I couldn't bring with me tonight, I'm sorry. But one is half a kilogram, the other one is 150 grams. It's not about recycling plastic and making bricks. We can make many things. Everyone needs to have the chance to recycle, make some rockets. Hello, Elon Musk, if you're watching this. I don't think so. This is one of the plastic tiles. It's 350 grams of PLA, which is recycled. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, but it's going to end up somewhere being displayed and inspiring people, hopefully. With my students in the Fab Lab where I work, they love keychains. I don't know why, but I found a design to make them in 2 minutes, and they love it. Every precious plastic project needs to have coasters. Here are mine. Some are laser cut, some are made with molds in any way, and my personal favorite, the spirograph. But what's next? It's very difficult to scale this project, to focus and have some mid-term and long-term goals. So I focus being accessible, creative, and scalable. I'm not going to give up on any of this. Making a plastic smoothie website. It's important to share the resources in a way that they are accessible, multi-language content. I'm speaking in English. I teach plastic recycling in Spanish in Madrid. Testing and reviewing new tools, being creative, new materials, working with Fab Labs. Yay, Fab City. And being scalable, self-sustainable model. Is this giving me money? For the moment, very little, but I'm finding ways. And the good thing about all this, the Plastic Smoothie website was launched last week. It doesn't have a lot of content, but it's something. It's the first step. Collaborating with artists. This is Elisa Gonzalez, an artist from Spain, and she requested to make some characters with recycled plastic to display in an exhibition. And I've got collaborators. This project looks very simple, and because it's simple, many institutions, universities, or 3D printing companies are interested in collaborating, in finding new ways to contribute, to help. And basically, the last slide, I would like to thank DDMP, WeMakeThe.City. You're amazing. You're giving us many opportunities. This project I wouldn't have launched the website, for example, if it wasn't for this presentation today. And that's all from now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Agustin. Really nice, enthusiastic presentation. And I think this you will be on later on with the other two presenters of the larger pitch. And then you have all the opportunity to show, and maybe we can run it through the audience. We'll do that later on, but with the other two, with the debate. Yeah, please, a little bit patience. But it's nice to see somebody from Argentina who works in Spain now presenting here in it Pakhuis in Amsterdam during Remake the City. I think that's also one of the powers of distributed design, that it's so really international. The next speaker, Ana Ferreira, with her project Pavan. She's not only making projects. Yeah, come on the stage. Yeah, and a warm welcome, please. Yeah. She's not only making products, but she's sort of invented the whole system of a mobile production with recycled plastics. And with more people. And you know what? Here's the mic. You can tell it yourself. Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Here's the clicker.
So,
No, the clicker. No,
this one. Okay, sorry.
Green button.
From the beginning, I really appreciated to be invited and to be here. Thank you all. And I will present the the Pavan project. In Portuguese, it's Plastic à Vista that we call it. But yeah, I'm from the beginning. I'm Ana, and I came from Portugal. I study at Visual Arts and Technology at SLX, that is High School of Education from Polytechnic of Lisbon. And later I applied as a volunteer in Fab Lab Benfica, that is in the same school, which allowed me to participate and integrate the Plastic à Vista team project, in which the Pavan project was hosted. As we all may know, a Fab Lab, it's a space where you can do almost anything. So our Fab Lab Benfica takes the name of the surrounding neighborhood in Lisbon, while sitting inside the Higher School of Education at the Polytechnic of Lisbon since 2018. Yeah, in January actually. This means that it is aimed at establishing strong ties with the local community, empowering the spirit inside the school-owned community, allowing any student or teacher to have access to this technology or the local community in open days. At Association, the project leader contacted us through the Precious Plastic Network to partner up and to adapt and produce the precious plastic machines. EDA is a transdisciplinary collective of professionals aimed at promoting alternative forms of social intervention through culture, art, and architecture. Yeah. An international community of architects, artists, designers, builders, culture programmers, art educators, and others. Founded in 2013, EDA is a non-profit culture association based in Trafaria, Tagus River, South Bank of Portugal, which develop spaces activation projects. Yeah, sorry because I had too much things to say. So this project, Plastic à Vista, it's an environmental awareness project that takes real actions with the community, focusing on the problem of plastic, the marine trash actually. The aim is to connect different extracts of society with this global problem in order to raise awareness about this, and actually about everything about production, consumption, and the importance of the rethinking, refusing, reducing, and recycling. In this case, I'm talking about Pavan, yes, a van, that it's a mini mobile plastic waste processing. That is a mini mobile plastic waste processing station with plastic processing machines from the Global Design Precious Plastic, co-funded by European Union, developed by EDA Association and Fab Lab Benfica. Yeah, this was all developed in Trafaria, a small place. And the first steps, besides buying the van, of course, was to define how to produce and integrate the precious plastic machines and with the raw material that we had available. So all the material was like in the stock for us. We wanted the Pavan to be able to do different things, like going to different places in Trafaria city, and whereabouts, of course, to communicate with the local community and to be capable to transport machines for transformation of plastic and all the furniture needed for representations in schools. Yeah. The iron structure was designed by Patrick Ubman. It's an architect from Austria, and all the wooden elements of the removable furniture was designed by Mariella Gentil, an architect from Italy, and all this was built with volunteers. Okay, this furniture had to be easy to assemble, stored inside the van structure, and to be built with the stock material again. All the designs are open source, and we expect to be able to have the documentation soon online. Okay. Several tests took place during this process. Here you can see, like, we trying testing the structure portability and how it worked independently from the van, actually. With some furniture already, but yeah. These I can tell that are seats. Yeah. Yeah, removable seats. It's really nice. Okay. With the iron structure almost finished, we began to develop the shelves for storing bottles with shredded plastic, 4 boxes to store material, 22 seats for children, 1 table, a mini library, while applying the details of the logo in the furniture that was being done. Yeah, this is Mariella Gentil and Patrick. Here you see the before and after, like just with the structure finished. And here you see with all of it, kinda, yeah, all of it. With all that I said, with the 22 seats, 1 table, a mini library, it's all here in this side. Okay. We have like boxes to put some water and try to clean the material that we received. Yeah, and a TV too for presentations for the kids. Yeah. Building the machines. After the iron structure was finished, we tried to see the space that we had on the structure, of course. And these machines were made at Fab Lab Benfica, okay? And step by step, with too many trips to the junkyard, really was too many. But yeah, the pieces come together. So then finally we set up and adjust the machines at the structure. We did the shredder machine, the compression machine, and the injection machine. So here we can see, kinda, okay, it's a bit dark, but here is the shredder, okay? The little pieces come right there in this box, and then we have the oven, the compression, and the injection, okay? You can see more or less, right? Yeah. Nice. I really liked this project. It was really amazing, but yeah. And this was the final result from the machine side. Yeah. So, the first attempt. We checked like which plastic should we use for some ideas that we had. But first of all, we tried to keep it simple. Okay. So this is a mold from a clipboard. It's really 20 centimeters, yeah, like that. Now we started the fun part. Yeah, we try to understand the abilities from these plastics, and we choose in 7 types of plastic. We choose 1, which is was HDPE. Yeah, if you know, high density polyethylene. And this was the one that we chose it because we spoke with some schools, so the kids could collect from their houses and then bring to us so we could transform, or even when we went to some schools, they really tried to do the same. So yeah, this was these first attempts with the clipboard. We tried to keep it we tried to not burn the plastic, but it actually happened one time in the oven. But yeah, we take it too many experience to really know which was the temperature or the time that we needed. Okay, and yeah, we have more. And we tried like to just not the little pieces, but actually with cap bottles. Was really nice, really different designs. And all the people could try, you know, not just we, the team. Okay. Now the van is going to some schools, actually 4 at least at this time. And in Costa da Caparica, Trafaria and Setúbal, just as a district. The kids are very curious. They love to get in our van, to watch all the process, and actually to learn more with fun activities, games, and movies, really about the plastic waste. They really are just, what? How we don't know this, you know? It's really strange. So, because they don't really know, they are so amazing that they really inspire us to try another molds. Yeah. So, the conclusion. For us, Fab Lab Benfica, this was a very important experience. Not only the lessons learned, which were a lot actually, and then like imagine when you go a junkyard, it's different in anywhere, like and as I was talking, was very difficult to get some things, but yeah, we did it. Secondly, we connect with other precious plastic projects in Portugal, in the small village in Alentejo, Messejana. All things considered, we become very interested not on reproducing the precious plastic machines, but on its actually open development and adaptations to diverse contexts. We are now connected to other initiatives, building over the precious plastic ecosystem, and how it can be brought to a classroom or it can integrate a specific neighborhood community. From our point of view, this was one of the biggest strengths of distributed design. Thank you all.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Anna. We all think it's a cool project as well, right? Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. It's good that you mentioned all your partners. That's also very good because they're part of the project as well. I'll see you in a while here up on stage. Next up is Milo McLaughlin Greening. Finally, a name I can actually sort of pronounce pretty well. Oh, kind of, he says. Oh, you're hurting me. Milo made the Light 00, and actually you won the Distributed Design Award last year, right?
No, it wasn't quite the same thing, but
Yeah, in the mic.
I won a little sort of challenge in London last year with the Light. But I'm going to talk about two projects actually.
Okay, stage is yours.
I'm going to try and squeeze it in. Hello. My name is Milo McLaughlin Greening. I'm a designer I'm from Birmingham, which is in the UK, but I'm based in London. My sort of main area of design that I'm interested in is how we can use design as a catalyst for change. So any way in which we can use design to create some sort of change, genuinely in the areas of sustainable reuse. That says recourse there. Resource reuse, and sort of in the bigger context, how we can eventually create some sort of fairer society. But the main sort of way in which I'm interested in doing this is taking a lot of the rhetoric and the theory, which is talked about all the time, and how we can take that and put it into projects which are actually able to happen right now. So the main sort of way in which I think this can happen, particularly within distributed design, is that we really need to involve people. I think the social element of projects is really important, and without having that, distributed design is going to end up just becoming another sort of type of manufacturing which feeds into the way in which we already manufacture. We'll just have Amazon doing distributed design, which isn't going to change anything. So we have to really involve people. So the first project I'm going to talk about is Collecting Commons, which is a project I've done twice. I did it for my MA, and then I repeated it in a city called Milton Keynes, which is in north of London. And that was a project about how you can attach social values to material. So the way in which I did that was I made this little collection trolley, which is a shopping trolley, and then knocked on people's front doors, knocked on their houses, and used that as a method of collecting material, but also used it as a way to talk to people from every different demographic. So to try and be as inclusive as possible and try and get as many people involved in the project that wouldn't necessarily normally be involved in community projects. So I collected a load of wood, and I also collected some alloy wheels, and I developed some local making processes. This is a furnace that I built. And I sort of did some sand casting in my friend's back garden. It was quite dangerous, probably, but I was fine in the end. And with the sand casting, I made some table legs. And then, I think I've missed a slide. Oh, no, okay, it's fine. Basically, what I did was I used all the material that I collected, and I made a really big, long table. I then created some invitations and went back to all of the people's houses that had given me some of the material and invited them to come and have a big dinner around the table. So using the material that they'd given me, which was sitting in their garden or their shed, to create some sort of object which brought people together and helped build bonds in their community. So attaching social function rather than just making things which eventually are for sale. I've done this twice now, and this is some images from the event that happened in Milton Keynes. In Milton Keynes, as well as me just making the table, we also collected a lot of material, and we used the wood to run some stool making workshops. So I was teaching people skills, and we made a set of stools, and now those stools are being used in a new community centre in Milton Keynes. So it's like taking material from the people, teaching people how to make with the material, and then creating objects which then end up going back and being used by people. So that's my Collecting Commons project. I'm being really quick because I'm trying to talk about a lot. So that's Collecting Commons. And now I'm talking about the Light Zero project, which is a project that I'm doing with Gareth, who's sitting over there, and Nat. They're part of Other Today. And now it's partnered with Batchworks, which is a 3D printing sort of microfactory in London. Initially, that project started out as a sort of distributed design challenge, which happened in London last year. And that's quite a long video, so we're not going to watch it all, but that's a video of it. I designed this lamp, and sort of the main aim with the design of the lamp was to create an object which, like I was saying before, can move forward with the rhetoric of distributed design and actually be produced right now, rather than suggesting something which uses digital tools which could be made in the future somehow. I was interested in how can we make a project which tomorrow we could start trying to sort of test out some of the issues of distributed design. So I made this quite simple lamp which just uses 2 3D printed parts, and then all of the other bits can be locally sourced or locally found by the end user. That's the light there. And it kind of worked in the sense that it was really simple and it can be made right now. So I had a conversation with Nat and Gareth, and we thought it would be interesting to maybe use this light as a vehicle for testing the theory of distributed design even further, because I think there are a lot of questions about this area that are unanswered and sort of people aren't talking about, and to turn it into something that's actually real is actually a big challenge. So I made some instructions. They're there. And then they were distributed throughout the sort of Fab Lab network, I think. They went to Barcelona. They also went to a Fab Lab in Nepal, a Fab Lab in Kenya, in Ghana, and then through the fact the files were hosted on Thingiverse, they got picked up by other people around Europe. And what we did was that we proved that the lamp does work. So in Kenya, this is a picture of some guys who went to a local market and got some of the local material. They then bought a little lamp head, which is quite funny, quite like. And they 3D printed the components using the files, and they built a lamp. So so sort of the theory behind people being able to collect their own local resources sort of worked. They were then this is in Nepal. They were using local processes. So this is a guy who decided to sort of turn these really intricate sort of poles for his lamp, which I thought is also quite an interesting take on the design, but looks quite good. So that's another sort of proven part. It's people taking the sort of initial design and then using local processes and local materials to create something which in the end still looks like a lamp, which is probably the aim. This is someone that downloaded the project in France, and I thought this was interesting to show because this is like the original, so it's also possible to make a lamp like for like, but I'm also not sure. I think this might be a render, so maybe I'm not actually sure. That might just be computer generated because it looks a bit rendery to me, but we'll see. I don't really know. But then that's great. We've proved that it can be made anywhere, which is obviously really exciting and kind of distributed. But what does that really mean? What I think is that, you know, it was also made in Barcelona, and what we've actually done is create a project which is really maker to maker. It's like, so far we haven't actually proved that distributed design can actually go out into the world and be used by real people. It can't actually go into the mainstream. There's no, it hasn't been proven, or this project hasn't been proven in that way. So now I'm working with Nat and Gareth to try and push it even further and actually try and take it away from being something which makers make in Fab Labs and try and make it into a product, or see if that's possible, because I think there's a big question about distributed design. We don't even know if, you know, it's actually feasible to sort of create products in that way. So we're partnered with a guy called Julian, who runs a sort of micro factory in East London called Batchworks. He's a great guy, and it's really interesting working with him because he's actually creating a distributed manufacturing sort of infrastructure. So he's created a microfactory which is in a container, and the plan over the next few years is for that. In fact, they've already got plans to set one up. Do you know where the other one's going to be? Cologne. They're already on the way to making another one in Cologne, but his plan is over the next 5 years to have these very similar sort of microfactories around Europe and then the globe. So this is an interesting way to sort of look at how design can be distributed. So partnering with a sort of manufacturing infrastructure. So that's something which is possible. So we're sort of tagging on. For that to happen, we've been talking to Julian a lot, and I've learned a lot about 3D printing and a lot about the difference between 3D printing something as a hobbyist and then actually 3D printing something for production. And the main difference, maybe it's a bit technical to talk about, but the main difference is because of the time it takes to print things, you have to move away from designing some sort of solid object, which is just a big block, which maybe takes hours and hours to print, and really start to sort of change the design so it can be printed in a single stroke. So this is the current design of the new form, which serves exactly the same same purpose as the old sort of upper part of the lamp. But now it's all created in one single line of the 3D printer, and I think it's gone from being printed in like 3 hours to about 20 minutes or something like that. So now actually it is a product which could be produced and could be distributed. But there are still loads of challenges, and it's still not a product, and it's still not on the market. And I think these are questions that really need to be answered about distributed design before we keep talking about it as a real sort of solution to the problems of the future. So when I get back to the UK the end of next week, Nat, Gareth and I are leading a workshop, which is sort of going to be a co-design workshop, which is starting with this new point where we've created a producible lamp that it's possibly possible to create around Europe in a sort of manufacturing sense. But the idea is that the workshop is going to be about hashing out the other issues. So how do we package it? Who owns it? What's the difference between a distributed design and open design? Who gets paid for it? How do they get paid for it? All of these questions are things which are super complex and need to be answered. And our plan is to try and answer them in some way for this project and see if we can make it work. And that's it.
Lilo, can I invite you to the table? Anna and Agustin, can I please invite you to the table as well? Yes, and you finally get to show. Get some water if you like. You do get to show your stuff as well. Really nice presentation you have. I would like to go back first to the plastic department, and then I'll come back to the lamp. Both of you really interesting projects, and I see somehow the interest in the precious plastic project of Dave Hakkens. It's a Dutch designer who, I think he started with the precious plastic 5 or 6 years ago, and he sort of lay out a whole system how people can really produce, collect, produce and recycle plastics and make their own products out of it. I do have a question. It's quite a critical question, and it usually comes back when people are recycling plastic, and that is, if you start recycling plastic, you're actually not changing anything. You're sort of removing a little bit of plastic, but in some sort of way you even keep the plastic flow going, because normally the factories or the companies that produce or that use plastics, they have to have an incentive to stop using plastic. But as long as there are guys like you who pick up their garbage, they keep on producing plastic. Do you agree with that? Do you agree on that? Please grab a mic and so how do you see that? Do you see yourself as part of the problem, so to say?
Yes, kind of. Yeah, but we reduce at the same time. So, and in our case, I think it's just to show that it's possible to do other things and to transform it, really reducing in a block or something, but it will be something that we use, not throw away, just because, yes. So
I try to be realistic. Climate change is not an if, it's a when. And I know what my project's role is. It's not about stopping plastic consumption. It's about slowing it down, reducing it slowly, freezing it.
Yeah.
But
so you're very realistic.
Yes, I'm not Superman yet.
Okay, very good. What I was also wondering is your, for example, your van and your production, your ways of production, are they viable for other materials as well? Does it have to be plastic? You can only work with plastics, or you can work with other materials as well?
Just plastic in our case, yeah, because the precious plastic machines are for plastic.
Mm-hmm.
We have it right, so yeah, I think there is no other project in that fun, I think.
Yeah. And for you?
In my case, it's for now it's a one-man job. So in this case, I believe with PLA plastic, it's already a problem. If there are thousands of types of plastic, so with 5 of them, it will be more than enough for me.
Yeah. Does anyone in the audience have a question for these terrific designers? Nope. That usually means that the products are pretty clear and they're very solid. Everybody understands. Well, I was wondering, Anna, is the van, is it also open source? People can build it.
We wanted to, yeah. We want to, but it's not available now. But it will be, I think.
Okay, the plan is to make it open source, like everything
yes,
in the precious plastic project.
Yes.
And do you think it's viable all over the world? Is it something that it could only work in Portugal or in Europe, or can it work anywhere?
Yeah, anywhere. I think I think you can find vans everywhere.
And there's plastic
and
waste
the material
everywhere.
to do it, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, you could think about making them boats as well. You have Boyan Slot, for example, with the ocean cleanup. And you got this big thing. So you could do something at sea as well. Do you think that's possible?
Yeah, I think so. A boat, yes, of course. Why not?
Yeah. You could go to the islands, the Scottish islands, or places like that. Lilo, I really loved your lamp. Are you familiar with the also English company called Open Desk?
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with Open Desk. Yeah,
pretty
Sorry,
familiar.
yes, I'm pretty familiar with Open Desk. Yeah.
Can you explain pretty familiar then? Since you're being so particular.
Yeah. Open Desk is a really interesting project because it sort of it creates CNC furniture, which is often used in offices.
They have their own catalog, right? Maybe explain a little bit. They have like a catalog, and designers can put their design in their catalog, and then the different workshops or not.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's a really interesting model, but I think well, having discussions with Gareth quite a few times, that they're making a lot of their money just from doing private commissions, and a lot of their talk about distribution is maybe not so clear. And I think what we were trying to do with the lamp is sort of move a step further than just creating a one material furniture, and try and look at how we can create distributed products that use more than one material, because furniture is probably the most basic style of, well, it also can be really complicated.
Yeah,
But, but I think, you can, if you're making something out of a single material, then that doesn't really push or prove a theory. And I think with the lamp, it was more like maybe like just tiny bit more complicated than a piece of furniture. So that's what we were trying to go for.
Well, what I was also thinking with lamps, usually they're pretty tight regulations concerning electricity, heat, safety, and all things like that. Do you have, I guess maybe not so much in Nepal or Ghana, but I can imagine in Europe you could have some problems with that as well?
No, I don't think so. Basically, well, in this picture in particular, this is actually using an LED bulb from a company called Thala, so it doesn't really get very hot even. And the sort of mains power which comes from the plug is actually, basically it's actually fine.
It's all from the Hornbach, how do you call those companies where you can buy your own stuff?
Yeah, it's all fine.
Yeah,
and even if you're just buying the electronic components from the hardware store, you're able to do that to build in your own house, so it's exactly the same.
Yeah. The plastic that you use, the sort of new plastics,
it's PLA. Yeah, it's
PLA.
It's the standard 3D printing plastic.
Yeah, is it as sustainable as people say? Yeah,
this is a good question, because Julian, who is the guy that runs Batchworks, which is the company that we're working with, it has its issues, and I think the main problem is that it has it's called a bioplastic. It's made out of it's not made out of oil, it's made out of cornstarch, I think.
It still takes like 60 years to degrade.
Yeah,
or
exactly,
something like that?
exactly. It needs to be broken down with industrial composting. So there's a bit of sort of, unless you know what you're talking about, you can sort of really be tricked into thinking that it's a really great solution, whereas actually it's something that we really need to think about.
I see Augustine's looking like, that means more business for me?
Yeah, I know, for example, I had a PLA part in a bucket of water for 2 years because, this is bioplastic. It can be dissolved.
Yeah, you can bury it in your garden.
It doesn't work.
No.
It needs to be recycled. It's
and just the other day I read a whole article that a lot of the corn where PLA is made from is actually genetically manufactured corn from Monsanto. So actually, if you're using a 3D printer, you're also funding Monsanto and one of the more, how do you say, violent companies in the world of agriculture. So what I'm trying to say is that it is a sort of a very complex road to be really sustainable.
I mean, I think the argument is that if you're creating an object which has some sort of perceived value by the user, particularly if they've had some part to play in putting it together, as long as they haven't done a really rubbish job, which can obviously also happen. If they create something which has some sort of personal meaning, and that small piece of PLA or plastic is kept in their home, and then it's kept, their whole lifetime and then the children's lifetime, it's actually not so bad.
No,
but
you can melt it pretty easily. I think it's 80 or 90 degrees it melts already, or something like that.
I don't know. There's some 3D printing experts. They know.
Anybody in the room? What's the melting temperature of PLA?
It's like 210, isn't it?
220. I wasn't even close. So but anyway, you could, and any household oven can do 220.
I think I'm sorry to keep jumping in. I think that the main aim, obviously, particularly for Batchworks, which is this guy, 3D, and all these 3D printing micro factories, is that they will be able to then take back any products and create more filament from those products. I think the technology to do that is not quite as reliable as it should be yet. So I know that Julian, for example, has been running for a couple of years, and he's kept every single piece of waste PLA that he has in his factory, and it's everything. It's like a box, like about that big.
Like that. I'll help you a little bit.
Yeah, it's like that big. So I think it's obviously not that much of a wasteful process because it's, additive rather than subtractive. So.
Okay, Lilo here has got, he's got his... No. He's got his business plan, and he's working on the business plan with Batchwork and everything. Anna, how do you finance your project?
How did
Apart
I
from
find
yeah,
it?
it was with the partners you all named, so it's mostly draws on government funding
like
or something.
AutoCAD draws, yes,
Yeah.
of course, from Patrick and Mariella. And with the association and with the Fab Lab, we tried to combine all these ideas we had. And yeah,
But is it
step by
hard?
step.
Step by step, yeah, it
obviously.
must be pretty hard to finance projects like yours.
It's to finance.
To find money.
Yeah.
That's probably very hard.
It was co-funded by the Europeans, so it kind of helped us. But in the other way, yes, was very difficult to buy more stuff and
Yeah.
to pay some extra work sometimes. But yeah, it's lovely, so it's work.
And for you, Augustine, how do you finance your projects?
I'm not sure if you know Patreon. This is a people can support you, giving you with a monthly pledge. And for example, there's around 80 and 90 supporters that each month support Plastic Smoothie and all my other 3D printing related designs. But my business model, it's selling products, recycled plastic, of course, giving workshops, universities, schools, and then hopefully the municipality. Maybe there are some projects, but it depends on the city, on the country. So I try to get enough money to do some tests every month and keep it alive for now.
You have to be really inventive, not only as a designer, but also as a entrepreneur. Thank you, Anna, Augustine, and Lilo. Can I have a please
Thank you.
a warm
Thank
welcome or a warm thank you applause? Yeah,
Thank you very much.
great projects. Really.
One second.
Yeah.
This is a frisbee made with recycled PLA.
Yeah.
Milo, you know how I can get many of these many kilograms, and it can be made with a cooking pot. That's it.
If you want to have a closer look, you can go to Augustine later on and try for yourself. Next up now are 3 short pitches. DDMP also has a big eye for upcoming talent, really young talent, and they've invited 3 really young designers. It's going to be, most of them is going to be their first pitch in front of an audience. But they've got really cool projects and they really love to talk about. First up of the 3 is Emanuele Bella, and he is the designer of the mole. Am I right? Of the mole mapper. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm in the team of Polyfactory, which is the think tank of Politecnico di Milano. And
There you go. Okay.
the
No.
clicker. I forgot
The clicker is here.
Thank you.
You already got the stage.
Okay, and I wanted just to introduce myself by giving you a quick glimpse of my city, which is Rome in Italy, and I'm in love with my city, and this is where I was born and raised, but I'm now based in Milan studying integrated product design at the Politecnico, of course. And I'm introducing Mole Mapper, which is a small tool for the prevention of the skin-related pathologies. And this is an open source project made with in the framework of DDMP. So as you can see, Mole Mapper helps people mapping, as its name says, their molds and checking if they're all right. You can see that in the top part he has a reminder that helps people check the parameters and the characteristics of their molds, like the color, the shape, and if they have spots. So even a reminder and a small ruler to see if they're changing. Here you can see the tool to measure the diameter of the mold, and Mole Mapper is a cool project in my opinion because it's a good example of how a small project which is replicable with rapid prototyping technologies like a laser cutter and a small amount of material can really improve the people's life. So, talking about open source design and distributed design, I think that with the emerging, more and more emerging and technologies of rapid prototyping are gonna help us create networks of creatives designers and experts in very different fields that will manage to find clever and practical solutions to the problems that are close to them. So we are gonna break and change the linear economic system to a more circular one. And that's all for me. If you have any question about MoldMapper, thank you.
No, I don't have any questions. I think it's a beautiful project. Sometimes you see projects and like, wow, design is such a cool profession, and designers can come up with such cool projects and ideas and solutions. And sometimes I even think, why? I thought that already existed. Why doesn't it exist? Something to measure your own molds and keep track of them. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, we have to keep it short, these pitches. Next pitch is and I took the wrong. I'd already warned you up front. I have a no, that's the wrong one. I have a cheat sheet because there are too many names. Yeah, here it is. I'm so sorry, Nita. Nida Matal. She's from India and she will pitch her project, which is a safety underwear for women. Can I please have a very warm welcome from Nidi.
A very good evening, everyone. My name is Nidhi Mittal. I'm from Bangalore, India, and I'm here to present my project, Digitally Speaking, which is a wearable tech project for the safety of women in India and across the globe. We all here would agree that security is a major issue for women everywhere, and according to the statistics, 92 women on an average are raped in India, and 60% gets raped worldwide. And these numbers are only the numbers which gets reported. Just imagine about the numbers which gets unreported. Concerned about this state of affair, I started working on this project called Digitally Speaking. The first prototype that we made here, you can see it's bold, it's sharp, it's edgy. It has a camera at the back and it has a display on the side, so that you can see who's following you. You can record. You can do video recording, you can click photos, and it also has a GPS tracker, so you can, if you are in an emergency situation, you can send your location to police helpline numbers or the saved numbers. The idea behind this was basically to start a conversation that, hey, look, we are unsafe, we feel unsafe walking on the streets, even in the day broad light, and is this the way you want us to walk on the streets now, with these suits, with these pointy, edgy covered garments, with all the technology devices? And I must agree that this created quite a lot of stir back in India, and it really started some sort of conversation. Moving on from there, we made this prototype, which is a smart underwear. We are working on that prototype with an organization. It's an NGO called Global Innovation Gathering, which is based in Berlin. It's basically a network of some 200 members from all across the globe. They're makers, innovators, Fab City members, Fab Labs, makerspaces, innovative people, really cool people. And it's a smart underwear basically, and again it has safety technologies. It has a GPS tracker, and you can send distress signals to save numbers, to your police helpline numbers or any emergency numbers when you're stuck in some distress situation. The idea behind this is that if you're stuck in some situation where you cannot have access to your mobile phones, you cannot press a button, all you have to do is do a muscle movement, which is a lower pelvic muscle movement, and that sends out the distress signal. So you don't have to reach out to your phone, to any button. The idea is to make it as unobtrusive as possible, so that no one really gets to know that you're raising an alarm. You're raising an alarm. So that was the idea behind this, and that's it. Thank you very much.
Really, really, really cool project. Impressive, impressive. And also a project which is, I mean, there's a very big need for projects like that. Sometimes you see design, you think like, okay, it's really cool, but do we actually need it? Well, this is something we definitely need. Thank you so much, Nitin. Last of the short power pitches, I'd almost say, is Nicolas Kirchler. And pronunciation was okay. It was good, okay. And he's going to present the Vivi House, which is a new sort of do-it-yourself house. It's not a tiny house, is it? No. Oh, sorry. Okay, here, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, hello everyone. I need to click on. Yeah, my name is Nicolas Kirchler. I'm an architect, and together with two friends some years ago, we realized that many cool buildings, such as tiny houses, are mostly in the area of 1 or 2 stories height. So very ecological buildings, and also self-built buildings are usually have this border of 2 stories. And so we thought, how can we make a toolkit or a construction kit that enables everyone to make urban scale buildings, which means in our case making buildings up to 6 stories. And at first I should say something about the logo. This is basically, these are the parts of this toolkit. It consists of a node, a steel one, that holds all the parts together. This is the bracing to make it stable. We have columns, it's a skeleton structure, and we have facade elements and floor elements. And yeah. Now maybe one other detail. We have a strategy. We needed to think a lot about strategies. How can you make those buildings yourself? So we thought we concentrated everything that's very complicated on this dot and on the columns to free the very simple elements, so it's easy to make them yourself. These are students at the Technical University in Vienna, having one of those facade frames and filling it up. This was the very first facade element we built. It's filled with straw bales. It has some heating system or cooling system. This is clay, also natural material, and this is the wooden frame. And this is the basic structure that can be filled wherever in the world with local materials and local skills. But the frame ensures the compatibility between all the facade elements next to each other. Last autumn we made this first one, the smallest possible prototype, with 6 of these kinds of facade elements. And here you see also the columns that are dimensioned for 6 stories and can have a fire resistance of 90 minutes, which is required in Austria. This is what we did now. This is what we're going to do about a little bit like this. In November, we will hopefully finalize it. This is what we want to do one day, and everybody's invited to help us. This is the final, the first prototype from his front side. We just finished it before the snow came in autumn, and yes, that's Vivi House. And it's open. We want to make it open source, and we want to make a smart combination of open licensing models, so it enables everyone to make the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicolas. 3 amazing projects. We've seen a mole mapper. We've seen a do-it-yourself house. Exactly what we need in the Netherlands. There's a big housing shortage in the Netherlands at the moment. And of course, also in the Netherlands, women are under siege as well. So 3 beautiful projects that really show how design can improve life. Before that, we also saw some, the tracker. Before that, we also saw 3 beautiful projects about recycling plastics and building up your own furniture pieces that can be distributed digitally around the world. So we've seen a lot of projects now. I think now it's maybe good to zoom out a little bit, and that's why I'm going to have a panel discussion with three designers who are a little bit more experienced, and we will talk about the pros and cons of the fourth industrial revolutions. So I would like to invite to the stage Mark Benito Padro, and also Yassine Salahin, and Damien Ragoussi. And that's a name I probably totally mispronounced there. Okay, and that's the do-it-yourself boombox. Please have a seat, guys. Yeah, I will keep on standing. I think best that we're going to kick off with. You know what we'll do? You're going to need it.
To present it, but
yeah, I thought I maybe put it here. So we all can see it. I think that's better, right? Maybe it's good to start off with a small introduction of yourself. Well, to start with you, Damien.
yes.
Yeah.
So
You're actually going to play some music.
yeah.
Cool. But keep it short, right?
Yeah, very short.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the first thing I like to do, like to step on it,
Okay.
and jump on it, and then not fall, and then put some music.
And then do a moonwalk.
Even better with good music.
Yeah.
Always. So that's the part, like the object, but the two main points of the project we developed, besides the boombox and the music, is non-planned obsolescence, and that's why it's like so raw, and like all the parts we use, we can like commonly find them, so it's like easily repairable, and it's not like green because like it's a like green object, but because you can fix it and have like longer life for the product. And the second thing is like open source, but not only open source, it's open source and modularity. So we worked like on interfaces. So this is the blueprint, but the next one will show, yeah. So those are like interfaces that we worked on, very simple, to separate design, functionality, and the speakers, to have like co-creators and co-producers design like, to create new designs and new functionality. So there is a picture of a new design that already we attracted some people. That's a photo I sent recently. No, not this one. Those are the three parts. So the box, the design, this is the functionality, and the speakers.
Yeah.
So I sent in the no, okay, no problem. So the other one is like very beautiful, like raw wood, like new design, and we integrated like the core and the speakers. And the last one that arrived like last week, we did it with Flex Arcade, like people that do like retro gaming. And so they integrated their knowledge of retro gaming inside the core, and the rest like is the same. So
those people who add their ideas, do you have like an online community or a website where people go and exchange?
There is a website, though.
Yeah,
it's coming like with the question like, how do we share this information? We started with this GitHub.
Well, you have to build a sort of a community.
But just to finish, so this is coming for the event. We're gonna play Tetris.
Okay.
Yes. So I finish.
No,
we see later.
Yeah. Okay. So we know what you do, and we'll come to the question of the building a community.
Yes.
And a platform later on. Mark.
Hello.
Floss glasses.
For sunglasses, yes.
Yes. The future is so bright, you gotta wear shades.
Yeah, exactly. Unfortunately. So basically, I'm going to try to summarize how we got to do this project so that you really understand why this makes sense to us. So basically, we started trying to understand how to produce things that would not become a waste management problem once the useful lifespan was over. And one of the things that we realized very quickly was that we're not, as consumers, we're not educated to understand what is sustainable and what is not, and we cannot compare between products. We don't have that knowledge.
We
So
as a consumer, you mean?
as consumers,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So you can do an amazing product that even then not many people are going to choose it because it's sustainable, because they're not going to know. So with this insight, we thought, okay, we need to make it in a way that people can make their own products so that they understand why they are sustainable, how they are made, and then compare them with others. So we started looking at options, and as some colleagues here, we 5 years ago we found a precious plastic project, and we thought, wow, these tools are amazing. This is what we really need so that people can make their own products. And so we quickly found out how complex it is to make something valuable out of a material that it's not valuable, like plastic. And
You have to start upcycling, so to say.
yeah, I mean, basically these are materials that no one value because they don't have economic value, and also because we're used to single-use plastic, and most of the plastic items that we use are not expensive economically, so we don't value. So this is a cultural mindset,
Yeah.
independently on whether the material is valuable or not.
So that's why you try to make a fashion item, because fashion is usually...
Yeah, that's one of the reasons. But then also we found out that it was very complex to actually output good things with those machines because of 3 things. Number one was, if you want to do a nice product, you're going to need a nice mold in the case of injection machine, which is what we use. That means a lot of hours to design it, and it means a lot of money to actually
Investments.
make it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then how complex it is to use plastic waste. It is so complex. The industry has gotten into such a complex point where there's so many polymers with so many different formulations, and it's when it gets dirty or it gets UV rays, you cannot do anything with it. So it's so complex that we really quickly understood that it's hard to make valuable stuff. And the other is this cultural mindset, because we value it as cheap. If you make a product with this type of machines and materials, people are going to have it in their hand, and their first impression of most of the people will be, this is cheap.
Yeah, but I can imagine that's the most easy part, convincing the people that something's cool.
It depends on the strategy
Well,
you take. I wouldn't say it's the easiest
People pay
thing.
200 euros for just a white cotton shirt of white. I mean,
Yeah, but that's not easy to make the people to actually pay 200 euros. There's a lot of brute force behind pushing those products to the people
That's
to
true.
convince them.
Yeah.
So, basically, the sunglasses that you see summarize what we've been trying to understand. If we can go back to the picture of the sunglasses, you will see they are made out of one material. So you pop the lenses out. We can't make the lenses with the same material yet for safety reasons, but you pop the lenses out and all you have is one single material, meaning it's extremely easy to manage once the useful lifespan is over. And we adapted the machines in a way that users could come to the place we do the workshops at, pick their colors and put them in the machine and make the whole process to create a product that is unique and that they chose. So maybe this way you can create an emotional bond with the product. So
okay, is it already
keep it for
available?
longer.
Is it already
Yes,
available?
it is available.
Okay. And there's shops like that exist already?
We do the workshops every Thursday in Barcelona. So
Okay.
so far you can do it only in our workshop.
Okay.
But
So
what
it's
we're
fixed
trying-
opening times.
Yeah.
That
for-
sounds like a really clever marketing tool. Like you have to be there, and if you're not there, you're square. That kind of
But what we're
that kind
trying
of
to
idea.
figure out now is how to, because the molds we realize it's a very
Yeah.
valuable part for the community around precious plastic. We're trying to figure out how to use open source to make it reachable for everyone.
Yeah, reachable for. We'll come back to that later on.
Yeah.
Reachable for everyone and understandable as well. That's also a big thing with technology. Yassine, you have your own studio as well.
Yeah, so I don't have a product to show because my work is like twofold. I work as an industrial designer with large companies in adapting to new technologies. So I found it very interesting what Milo was saying about what you don't want is Amazon co-opting that technology and then continuing the business model as is, and that is what's actually happening. All the large companies are into distributed manufacturing because they want to. They see a lot of friction happening with the current production model, and they are changing that. And that's also the brute force of capital that is sometimes forgotten. Is that you can have all the nice ideas and these idealistic ideas, which are very good to show people a new way, but to disrupt capital is not that easy, and capital is so much available that these companies have the power to do that. But so I try to work with companies to see how to do that in an ethical way and to incorporate ethics in what they do. And in the other side, I'm an educator, so I work with at the Master of Industrial Design of the Royal Academy of Art here in The Hague. And what we do there is think about the complete. So thinking of the system, right? So we as designers, we are makers. So we are making these material things, and then we shift this into making this beautiful statement of we are not moving atoms anymore, but we're moving bits. But still, we are working within a space that somebody else designed for us, right? So we are working in that confined space that somebody else designed for us. And I think that we should look as designers at the skill set that we have and use that to look at everything as design. So the law, economics, all these things that we call social constructs are in essence designed spaces, right? So and if we see them as designed spaces, we can intervene into those spaces, and that's
how can you do that as a designer? How can you sort of hack or invade those laws of capitalism, those laws of the market?
Well, first by trying to understand them, right? So,
yeah, of course.
but also by taking a stand, right? So, by in the first place acknowledging your position of where you are and knowing that this is my perspective and understanding your blind spots. So if I look forward, I cannot see what's behind me, and that's important to know in which direction you're going, right? But that means that you are intervening also in these political spaces, right? So everything you do is a political statement in the end. So you have to accept that and don't say and engage. And already, so what you said was also very important in trying to change a mindset is a designerly task, right? So that's something that we have to do, but you have to be sure that you can do it, because you have to want to do it and not say, okay, yeah. I'm retreating in my studio and I'm making these things which are very nice, but we have to tackle this bigger issue together, right? So with all designers together.
Mark, did you ever consider hooking up with a big company, with Ray-Ban or Pessel or sunglass companies like that?
This is a very interesting question because we keep changing our minds. So we keep wondering what our objectives are, and so what strategies should follow. And I'm not really sure. I don't really have an answer on whether what strategies have more potential to reach impact. So I can't say it's a better strategy to partner with a big company if you get them to do something nice. That might be a good strategy. On the other hand, companies which are producing shit, sorry about the word, but we're producing a lot of it, they should change the way they do things. So is it nice to partner with them? Well, maybe yes, if you can do nice things. If not, if it's for greenwashing, then of course, no, we don't consider it.
No. About your the Boom Boom Box.
It's changing name every time.
Well, how do you call it? Then from now on we call it.
I don't know whether I call it the Catapult, but last time it was like DIY Boombox. Like
yeah, the boom
box.
Yeah, because it's evaluating, right? It's
that's the idea actually.
Well, the boombox. I was wondering. Do you in the designing process? Do you keep in mind a lot that people the technical capabilities of the consumer? Because a lot has been said about the industrial revolution. I think The Economist was in 2012. They had the big cover, and it's coming, and now it's 7 or 8 years down the road, and it's still not here. Maybe because the expectations of what a consumer wants, what a consumer can do, are too high. Did you have that in mind a lot? That it must be easy to make it.
Well, to make it maybe not, but to repair it, yes. So if we can just change the other picture, yeah. So the main thing about like
sorry to interrupt you, but you know, building this might seem easy, but you have to download the files and then you have to laser cut it probably.
If you're a maker, yeah, but we sell like kits.
Yes. Okay. I did not know. I thought you have to go to FabLab and make it yourself.
You can, and you can innovate. You can change like the wood or anything else. But we sell like
the clumsy consumer like me. They get the flat pack at home.
Yes, and you can build it. If you really don't want, you can buy it like already like in one piece. But still
okay.
But about like the how to like access, and that's why we sell kits also. It's like to to like make incentive or for like knowing your object, how it's made, and if like later on you have to repair it, you can do it. For example, changing a speaker is only like 4 screws and 2 connectors. But the worst in like this object and like many objects is not like what should not break. Like there is one part that is like consumable, I don't know like the word in English, it's the battery, because even if you take care like using it, it's gonna die after like 2 or 3 years. So what we did is like to expose the batteries. It's like lithium ion batteries, so it lasts like 10 hours like full volume, but it looks like AA batteries. It's not. But you really can change them like regular like AA batteries. So that's the first thing like we wanted to have, like being able like to change easily the parts that have to be changed. And then if you want to repair it, so depending on the parts you want to change, it might be like very easy like a speaker. Like if you break something like a piece of wood, or you like laser cut it, or you ask someone in a Fab Lab or whatever. But like mainly all the parts are very simple parts. There is nothing glued. Everything like is made with screws and everything. So
no, it looks really solid, especially when you were dancing on it. You know, it's never going to break.
Yeah.
When you said like the most important part, I would think that the speakers themselves would be the most important part, because that's how you measure the quality and everything. Did you consider hooking up, for example, with Sonos or those production, those factories or those brands of really good speakers to team up with them? So you have your own product, but you work.
Actually, we did that.
Okay.
Like the brand of the speakers, it's Focal. It's a French like speakers company.
Okay.
It's quite good actually.
So you
like
can upgrade it. You can say like, okay, I've got a little bit more money. I want more expensive.
And we offer that like on the website. Like you can you have options. You can upgrade for like better speakers.
Okay.
And what's interesting, I think, with this project is that you can attach different kinds of business models to it. So you can say for a company like Sonos or Bose or whatever, they would say, oh yeah, why would we work on an indestructible, do-it-yourself repair boombox? But if you change the business model into product as a service, where you lease, for example, the speaker part, and then you can upgrade it to at a higher price point with a more monthly, and then you always get the newest, and they take them in because they remain in their ownership and they own the materials and they take better care. So this product is not only modular in its making, but also you can have a modular business model. You can attach different kinds of business models to it, and that's an interesting way. So you have to create these layered products that can express different capacities in whatever setting you put them, because capacities change with the context. So what a product can do changes with the context in which you place the product. So and that makes it, for me, an interesting product, and also for your product. It's also rethinking those business models and how to make money that you ask the other people.
So what you're saying is it's not just about designing a pair of sunglasses. It's not about designing a boombox. It's designing a whole system around it and new ways of sharing the knowledge. You don't work open source?
Yes.
You also work. Oh yeah, you have the platform. You're going to tell me about the platform, the online platform, because how do you get people to share? You have to have like a big, huge following. For example, Dave Huckins, his name of Precious Plastic has been named before. It took him 5, 6, 7 years to build a huge online platform, and he's really good at it. He made videos and everything. So it is pretty hard in reality to actually achieve that. So how did you do it?
Well, we shared the blueprints with GitHub, which is more like code-oriented platform, because we don't have like really better option. And it raises like a question like can we like create a GitHub for open hardware? And there are many like differences between software and hardware. For example, like generally many people of different fields work with proprietary softwares. Mm-hmm. So you cannot share like pure text, and so there are different formats and different specialties.
Yeah, okay,
so
that's how the platform works. But how do you get people to go to the platform?
what platform are you talking about? The one that
The
exists
online-
or the
yeah,
one
no,
that
no, the-
doesn't
the-
exist already?
No, but people have to know that they can share the knowledge. How do you say the market for lack of a better word? How do you do your marketing? How do you attract people to go to the website and help and improve the Katapost?
Through GitHub, we had some like one offer to upload like a 3D model made with I don't remember what software, but it's very hard because you cannot easily share it with GitHub. It's not made for that.
No.
So for the time being, like what we do is like we make connections like directly with like co-creators, and we like say, okay, it's open source, so you can have your design. For the time being, the documentation is not good. We're starting, so we can help you. Mainly, we did that with French designers for the time being.
Yeah.
Like one French designer, like one French technical like arcade project. But for the time being, we have to work with the people. But as soon as they have their like products or like sub-products of the Katapost, it's open source, like it's Creative Commons with attribution, so they can sell it if they want. And the only thing they have to like do is like to put the project name on the communication.
Okay.
So that
Okay. It has to still be named the Katapost.
Yeah. And no, that's gonna be like there's gonna be Katapost to have like win-win thing, but then they can add their own brand, and that's what they did actually.
So it's gonna be if I would make one, it would be, for example, Jeroen powered by Katapost, something like that.
You can. As long as you like put Katapost, that's the Creative Commons with attribution license.
Okay. Anybody in the audience got a question there? Yes, Kate. I'll come. Yeah, we have to do it in the mic.
It's not a question, it's a shameless plug. So in the DDMP network and platform ecosystem that we're creating, we actually have a partner who is basically Git for hardware. So we have a partner called Wikifactory, and they're very interested in creating exactly the space you're talking about. It's a documentation system. It's also a place where you can go and discuss, and also a place where you can have forums and these kinds of things, share the iterations of your project, fork, and then also merge and version control and all of this for people just like you. So all of us. So next week, and this next week will be probably we can talk about it and work on it, and we can. If you come to the DDMP website, which we'll show you later, we can also connect anyone who's interested in this kind of product, because the DDMP project is not just about building this culture, it's also about the technical tools that we need to build this culture and changing that system. So this could be useful.
So regarding these, it links to the conversation that we've been having with some people, that many of us are within the principles that it should be open source, everything. But then we realized that it takes a lot of effort when it comes to hardware. When it's software, you just upload it in GitHub. It's there, job is done. When it comes to hardware, it takes a lot of extra work to actually open source it. And that's what you struggle, because you always are very tight on time. So you struggle to actually make those actions to actually have it open source, the documentation, uploading, everything. So knowing that there's this tool, it's quite amazing. Let's see how it works.
There you have it. Any more questions from the audience or plugs? I'll come to you later on.
Hi, I'm curious. All your some of the projects you showed are offering an open source kind of version, but what about having this literacy to use this open source hardware, softwares? I think it's a big boundary to use all these open source, even though they're very wonderful and accessible if you know it and if you know how to use it and if you have access to the materials and to the machines that you need to produce it. So what's your take on that?
So the thing, like we produce, like if someone like is interested in like part of the object, like we produce and we can sell it, and that's like if you're not comfortable with like technical machines like laser cutter or whatever, you can buy some parts. But if you have like your speakers from your old car, you can like take them and then you put it together. For example, no. And about like the beginning of the question, I think it's very like linked with what you were saying about like documentation and like we have the same problem. Like it's a huge effort to have like quality documentation and tools also. Like, but even though like taking videos and making plans like to how you build it and it's a lot of effort. So
it's called building a company, and that is hard work.
Yeah, in general.
Yeah,
but
even within the distributed design world, building a company is really hard work.
It is, but it's like open source and a company. So the documentation part is even maybe bigger, much bigger than like regular company.
Yeah.
But that's also what I was talking about. Is that you take this principle of being distributed and also applying it to within your own company, so you can also create a distributed business model. So like you said, for the people who just want to have the cool factor of having something that looks homemade or very easily, you can have almost in that flat pack thing, and then then you pay a certain price for it. If you want to do it for free, then you need always to it will cost you something, and what will it cost you? The skills you will gain. So knowledge will always cost you something, at least time and effort, right? So that's your investment then. And if you don't have time and you don't want to put in the effort, then you invest money. And then you have this tiered, distributed business model where people can enter your company at different kinds of levels, right? And then, but I also liked what Milo was talking about is you can also create this total different system where you say, okay, it's not about selling things, it's about creating community projects where and at the same time teaching people to do these things themselves. That's a different track you can follow. But I think there are different ways to approach that.
Last question over here.
Thanks very much. Hi, thank you very much everybody for your presentations. Actually, I'd like to direct my comments to Yassine. I was very grateful for your commentary, because there's often not a lot of transparency about who you are and your identity when you're doing things. So I have two things I would like to invite you to reflect on. I was just thinking that when we retell the story of design, we often forget that it was a lot of subcultures that had a huge influence on design, and we only tell this like kind of mainstream story with the canons in it and that sort of thing. So one thing is like, how do you see this activation of subculture as a means to move forward with things that maybe go beyond capital or become post-capitalist, which is the promise of this kind of design. And then the second question was, well, in studying, for instance, Italian architecture, you know, there was this moment in fascism. They made great architecture, by the way, the fascists, and that's painful to say, but it just was beautiful. And something is there in design that has something that can go beyond the power of that time, you know, that can offer something that speaks to us in our souls, maybe, you know. And you can be a fascist. You can come from the worst possible motivation, and maybe still offer something that moves people beyond one generation.
So, what was exactly the question concerning the fascist architecture?
This was like, these were the things that I was thinking about when you were presenting.
Okay, but let's stick with the first question. I think is more imminent. How do you? I think what it comes down to is actually, how do you scale up? How do you break beyond the inner circle of people who actually work, do upload their ideas, and who think it's really cool that glasses are 3D printed from waste plastic? How do you go beyond that? That was the first question. So I think
I think the two questions are intertwined, yes. Right? Because the mainstreaming of things that come from subcultures usually happens by cutting off the rough edges and making it polished and appreciable by the many. Right? So there's a same trend happened in veganism, right? So there were very dedicated vegans who were maybe had a Buddhist lifestyle or had a very firm principles, and all the others looked at them and, well, they're weirdos, they don't want to eat meat, whatever. And then what I think helped the vegan movement is when people started making vegan junk food. So that was suddenly there was this entry point. Everybody likes junk food. It was made attractive. It appealed to an inner part of people, of indulgence, of these almost transcendent spiritual aspects that you addressed in fascist design, for example. It's about that part of making these things attractive also to the many, to be able to infuse what you make beyond the technological, but maybe into even a kind of spiritual realm where people want to be attached to that certain product, be it by a community, like a subculture, be it by wanting to be part of something bigger, or wanting to change the way they live, so they want to make a conscious transformation in their lives. But we must learn, and you do that by also not thinking of only designing a product, but also designing an ecosystem around your product, right? So your product is, you never design without a context. And we have to think of the context in which we are designing our products, and also at least design part of that context. And and you can only do that together. So you cannot do that solo, especially if you're working. You all have like these great projects, but
beautiful closing words, I think.
Yeah.
We've talked about the system and the whole entrepreneurial aspect of how do you work within the distributed design. But in the end, it has to be a good product that reaches out to people and that people understand and want to have. And I think we've seen some really nice examples of these products here in your presentation and the earlier presentations as well. I'm very sorry. At this point, we have to leave the discussion where it is. Although interesting it is about veganism and fascist architecture, I would go on for hours. No, honestly, could go on for hours on that. But time is pressing, and there's a big announcement to be made. But before, can I have please a warm thank you applause for these three amazing panel members you've seen. And now I'd like to invite to the stage Alessandra Schmid, also of DDMP, and you're going to announce, it's a big moment now, you're going to announce first the shortlist and then the winners of the Distributed Design Award.
This one?
Yes.
Great. We created a momentum here, which is good. So we are going to the end. Last but not least, I'm going to briefly introduce the process for the selection of the finalists. And it's an honor to introduce our jury that is also the advisory board for the Distributed Design Market Platform. Carla Camila, Primavera de Felipe, Daniel Charney, Nadia Pick, Lydia Chong, and Indy Johar. They are very important for us to advance the work that we've been doing. As well, everyone that presented here today and it's also showcasing what distributed design can mean. It's also a pleasure to introduce the partnership that we have this year with the Index Awards. And it was such a pleasure for us to have this partnership with them, and also to have traction in our selection process for the Distributed Design Awards. It's a 4 and 5 steps to arrive into the end of the selection. And it all starts with the nomination for the Index Award. This year we had 39 entries for the award. And from that, the shortlisting starts with members of the Distributed Design Award Market Platform that Kate already introduced to all of us. And we have selected 14 emerging creatives. And I would like to ask you to stand up so we can identify if you are around us. Thank you. I would also like to invite my friends from the Fab Lab to come join me here in the front. Thomas as well, please. Kate. Marcel. we created a jury, and the jury evaluated the entries that we received, and we have 3 finalists. Someone wants to do the ta-da? Yeah. Yeah. Here they are. Emmanuel, Ana Fejera, and Nicolas. Would you like to join us here in the front? Please. Wanna say some words? Okay. Yeah. Well, the criteria, it's related to our core values that we have, that we presented in the beginning. So being open, ecosystemic, collaborative, and also regenerative. That's the idea that we would like to keep discussing about. And 3 factors, that is the idea of being distributable, reproducible, and especially valuable, because we believe that design can improve life. And that's why we chose all the participants that are here in the 3 finalists that we have. And in order to introduce the winner is going to be invited to participate in the Distributed Design Award ceremony in Copenhagen. I would like to shortly say that apart from being a great professional, it's also a pleasure to meet as a person. And I'm sure that many of you will agree with me. The winner of the Distributed Design Awards in 2019 is Nicolas! This is just a brief introduction for our ceremony in September. It's also important to clarify that all of you that also subscribe for the Index Award are still participating of the selection. And luckily, we will have a few of you also winning the Index Award. It will be a great thing. And I would like to invite my colleagues, Marcel and Manu, to talk a bit about the summer school that we have in partnership with Precious Plastics, and we are going to run next week.
Well, I'm Marcel.
I'm Manuela.
And I'm leading the communications of the Distributed Design Project, aka DDMP. And Manuela is our multidisciplinary, creative octopus and graphic designer. So we are here to talk about what, thank you, Agustin, spoil our only slide in the night. We will be doing this challenge next week in the Precious Plastic Base Camp in Eindhoven, which is a design challenge to change the world. That's what we expect, that you change the world the next week. So the idea is that we're bringing the all of the projects from the DD Distributed Awards to the camp to work in teams together to use recycled plastic to create products that improve lives.
So apart from changing the world, that it's part of the deal, the idea is just it's rethinking plastic in the life, because we know it's one, and we've talked tonight, that is one of the biggest challenge. And more than that, it has to have a component of social. So how can improve life with a social component? And the core of the material, you know, that the idea is a production conceptualization and manufacture of this product this week between the groups, but also how it's going to work for the future.
So something like very important about this is not just like, creating something meaningful, but then the idea is to share it with the world. So whatever you come up with there is something that can be reproducible somewhere using the precious plastic machines and techniques. So that's why I would like to mention, going back to the Wiki Factory thing, is that during this week we are going to use the platform to document the whole process of all of the projects, to have everything like very well organized. So after the challenge, people can download the files and tweak the projects, improve them, and keep working on it. So hopefully we will do something big out of this. So something else?
See you on Monday.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's have fun there.
Thank you, thank you. I think it was an amazing evening. I've seen some really, really cool projects. I've seen some new insights as well. You have to change the system. It starts with the system that has to be changed, and the distributed design can play a big role in that. And at the same time, don't get stuck in the system. Don't forget to design really cool products. I think in the panel discussion in the end, I think there was a very sharp remark that after all, I think most of you are architects and designers who like to design and stuff, whether it be a not so tiny house or it can be a protective safety underwear. It can be totally different things, but you like to design beautiful, cool stuff where people can attach to, and that's, in the end of the day, that's the most important thing. And you have to think as an entrepreneur, and at the same time think about how to improve life and improve the world. That's quite a challenge, but I think it's a beautiful challenge, and I think at least the designers I've seen upstage here tonight are up for that challenge. And in the end, at the evening, we had a beautiful winner with a beautiful project as well. Before we head to the bar, and first drinks are on me, Nicolas. Before we go to the bar, I would like to have one more round of applause for all the speakers tonight. Damien Ragusi, Kate Armstrong, Yassine Salehin, Milo McLaughlin Greening, Emanuele Bella, Mark Benito Padro, Nicolas Kirchler, Nidi Metal, Anna Ferreira, Agustin Floalistic. And I think there was not a mistake in there. Don't make it too late tonight, because there's still the We Make the City is still going on tomorrow. The program is probably on the table or downstairs. And for now, I hope to see you at the bar downstairs. Or is there?
Really quick photo of the finalists, the shortlist.
Yeah. Photo time. Photo time. Okay, the rest can go to the bar. Thank you.